Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Its common question comes from the Death Beats, my friend Gary. And this is in response to Roland S1 Save SH101 after update. Cork T1 and Cork M1 joysticks the same. A mailbag I did in April 2024. And Gary writes, I've considered buying a second System-1 for my UK setup. And I've been surprised to see that most of the eBay listings for the second-hand units are going for more than the original retail price. I did have a look around for a new machine, but as you can imagine, everyone is pretty much sold out and nobody has them in stock. In regards to the System-1 software, I bought a third-party program called System-1 Librarian back in the day. I've not used it for years, however, and upon doing a Google search, it doesn't seem to be around anymore. Cheers, Gary. Now, I think people have cottoned on to how versatile the Roland System-1 actually is. I've used it for years as a bass keyboard. And the reason for that is it just kind of works in that function, because you can knock the octaves down on the keyboard itself, so you can transpose it down, and then you can just run bass and grungy sounds on it, or it can be used as a mini MIDI controller. And I think, you know, this is kind of where it's been misunderstood as a piece of equipment, and people have now started to realise these two aspects to what the System-1 actually is. It's kind of, would I say it's an Ovation base station? No, it's not. It's not quite as feature functional, as rich as an Ovation base station, but it kind of it does the same thing but in a different way. That's the way I put this. Now, I also found a package file for an early librarian on the Mac platform, but because it's 32-bit and the new Mac has been has turned off support for 32-bit packages. I mean, Macs have been 64-bit for a number of years, but they've still been able to support 32-bit packages until a few years back. So I can't now load the damn thing on this thing. But I will see if I can. I may fire up my old Mac at some point and see if I can load it onto there. But unless you've basically got a Roland subscription now, and this is where Roland are going, you cannot get anything to load onto the System-1, because you need to load it through the librarian. Now, originally what you did was you dropped the bin files onto your computer, and then you loaded the bin files into this librarian, and then it would effectively transfer the sound sets across to your System-1. But you can't do that now. You have to have the Roland Cloud version of the software, and then you effectively can upload the bin files. You don't download the bin files at all. Actually, that's a load of rubbish. What you do is effectively you select what you want to load into the synthesizer, and then it will then send it onto the S1 or the System-1. So basically, without a Roland Cloud subscription, you're kind of shafted. Anyway, Gary writes back, there are a couple of bass sounds I made with the System-1 which are best described as Moog versus Virus, which I've not been able to recreate with any other synth, so there's definitely room for the System-1 amongst modern day synth collection, especially if you're looking at wavetable synths including Massive, Pigments and Serim. I really hope they update the System-1 VST as they did with the JX3P, because I will start using it again. The JX3P update is a much better interface and more stable than the previous incarnation. So there you go. Hopefully Roland got the message. I don't know whether they've actually done an update to the System 1. It's a while since I actually looked at the System 1 VST. But we shall see. Next comment question comes from Daniel O'Black. I think that is how you pronounce that. And this was in response to don't know. Anyway, Daniel writes, I think I brought mine back in 1993. Was definitely an impulse purchase, with the rationale at the time being that they would be easier for a musician to see what key someone is playing in if they didn't. I don't know what it's in response to. It's in response to the A-110 video I did. It would be easier for a musician to see what key someone is playing if they didn't have a good angle on the actual keyboard instrument. Also, of course, it was a cool way to explain MIDI to newcomers. I always intended to open the case, and as you showed, my suspicions were confirmed. There really isn't much in it. Pointing to my only complaint about the unit, which is the case takes up a lot of rack space when it really only needs to be about half as deep as it was. Even if they orientated the components differently, it would be even smaller. I'm still glad to have it, although I wouldn't turn it upside down. Turn down someone offered me an adequate sum. My plan is to keep it and the added flash it puts in my studio rack. Now, I think I said on the channel, one of the things I use I've got two A110s. I've got A110 and A112 in my rack, and the reason why I have them there is actually for debugging what's going on. Because quite often, what happens is you plug it into a keyboard, and it's off camera, but this is my patch panel for MIDI. So all my keyboards and all my units in this space at the moment are all patched into that patch panel. And you plug your keyboard into the patch panel, and I've got a list of wherever it is. I've got a laminated list of what's plugged into where, and I can't see it at the moment, but it is here somewhere. Probably down the back there, down the side there, and you plug something in, and nothing happens. And on some units, for argument's sake, like on the Roland units, there's a light that flashes to say I'm getting MIDI. On other units, you've got no indication that you're actually getting a MIDI signal into the unit itself. And because of that, what I like to do is I can then break down the MIDI chain to say, actually, is my master keyboard actually transmitting a MIDI signal? Yes, tick in the box. And the secondly is, if I then put that onto the through of the unit that I'm not seeing, is the MIDI unit actually coming through to the unit that I'm actually running? And if the answer is yes, then I know I've got a setting that's not right there. And if I know it's not actually receiving MIDI, I know I've got a setting that's not right there. So it allows me to actually debug where in the MIDI process things are either working or not working.